This video will show you how I refurbish or prepare used washers and dryers for resale. Safety first, so always disconnect power before servicing any electrical appliance. And if you're going to take these machines apart, do remember the internal edges are extremely sharp. A lot of these parts on the inside will cut you, so be very careful not to get hurt. If this video helped you save money and you want to donate to me through PayPal for my efforts, I sure would appreciate it. And of course, anything you donate is greatly appreciated. It's really easy to do. On the bottom of my video, down here, you'll see where it says the published on information. It's all the video information. The very first thing I put on there is PayPal donations, and there's a link. Just go there and click that link. It'll take you to a page where you can make donations directly to me, and I'm Kenneth O'Banion. That's me right there. And then all you do is just choose how much money you want to send, US dollars. And if you want to put $1, you just type it in, and then click next and go through the screens, and it's that simple. And thank you again in advance for anything that you donate. I appreciate it. This first machine that I'm going to show you a little bit of what I do is a washing machine. It's a Whirlpool, kind of Kenmore and Whirlpools are the same. But the first thing I do is take it apart so I can clean it very thoroughly. Now here I'm going to go ahead and remove this cabinet, take it off of the rails of the base and just move it aside. This way I can clean it easier and get to the inside of it and clean it out. Oftentimes you'll find it gunked up in there pretty good, and this also allows me to clean the parts of the washing machine on the inside as well. I'm going to remove any little stickers or anything else I find inside on the tub. That's what I'm doing right here. Sometimes you'll find little stickers from clothes or what have you. Go ahead and remove those. Now I've got a SOS pad here. I'm going to use SOS pad and water to do most of the cleaning with. The first thing I'm going to do is get the water turned on. I'm going to spray down all the components that I'm going to be trying to clean, get them to loosen up a little bit. We'll be careful. Most of these things you can get water on and you'll be okay. But if you have a machine that has a computer board like on top of the motor where you wouldn't want to get that wet, same thing in the controls panel. I don't spray up in there. I don't want to get water on like a computer control panel if there's one in there, or a computer board of any kind. I want to point out that while you're cleaning underneath the lid on these things, don't scrub with the SOS pad where the writing is, or on the model number tag. That's that little paper tag right in the center just underneath the lid. If you do, you'll damage that where you can't read it, and of course you don't want to do that. Here you want to make sure not to scrape your knuckles on that water diffuser where the water comes out at. You do want to get in the crevices and get underneath there and clean it, but just be aware that it will scrape your knuckles, so just kind of be a little bit careful there. And you do want to get this all as clean as you can, make it look bright, white, and clean. Okay, now I'm going to do the control panel and clean it. Got it good and wet, but I'm going to be very gentle with the scrubbing action. I'm not going to scrub real hard because I don't want to scrub away any of the writing or graphics or anything like that. And all of that will scrub right off of the SOS pad if you're very aggressive with it. So be gentle, and you can use it to clean it just very gently. If it has the blue protective film still on it, I don't want to get water on that at all. I won't even do any of this if it looks good. I'll just leave it intact. You'll see that on the dryer here in a minute. But if it's like this, you do want to clean it. And that was pretty much it on that washing machine. So now I'm going to show you the dryer here that and I get it all taken apart, including removing the lint trap housing. And I get everything wet just like I did on the washer. That way everything will be starting to soak or come a little bit clean. It's actually fairly clean inside this machine. It's not too bad, but usually they're a lot worse than this. But I spray into all around and get everything good and wet before I start cleaning it. Now I know you don't see it because I have the back pointed away from the camera, but there's two seals, one at the top for that lint housing and one at the bottom. You want to make sure you don't spray directly on them. If you do, it'll disintegrate and those seals will just tear away and you'll have to replace them. You see that foam seal at the top left where the little holes, honeycombs look there, and there's a close-up of it. You make sure you don't spray on that at all, just spray around it and then clean it manually with if there's anything stuck to it with your fingers or what have you. But you don't want to damage these seals. If you do, you have to replace them. Another thing I want to point out while I'm doing this one is this one has the protective film still on the controls panel. So I'm being very careful not to get it wet. There may be a little splash up getting on it, but I'm not spraying it directly. I'm not going to scrub on it at all or anything. It's in pretty good shape and intact, so I'm going to leave it like that. So I'll avoid getting water on it as best I can and drain water away from it when I can as well. As you can see on the inside, I do use the SOS pad pretty aggressively on the bulkhead, on the part that's exposed where the inside of the drum is. You want to clean away any gum or gum residue or any other kind of sticker glue or anything else that's there, pen marks, markers, stuff like that. And these machines, I typically will replace a kit like this on the dryer if it needs any of those parts. And same thing on the washer. If there's anything bad, of course, I replace any bad parts. So now if a machine is completely cleaned up and any needed repairs are made to it, then I decide if I want to paint it or not. And if it's in real good shape, it's got some scratches here and there, then I don't bother with painting. This particular dryer here was kind of beat up on the sides pretty good, so I'm going to go ahead and paint it. So here's what I do to prepare a machine if I'm going to paint it. And the first thing I do on a dryer is open up the lid. So I've got to remove these screws and remove, of course, the lint filter. And open it up, pull the corners towards you one at a time there, and then lift up at the front. And then that way you can get this open. Once you have it open, then I can go ahead and put what I use is add circulars, and I'll tape it where that big hole is where the lint filter goes, so that any kind of spray that I do on this, when I spray the deck with paint, it's not going to go down inside the dryer. So just tape it off on the underside there. And also I go ahead and tape these any stickers I don't want overspray on, and as well the little latch pieces too. Okay, you saw I removed the end piece or trim piece. I'm going to paint those on this dryer. If I'm not going to paint them, I'll just leave them on and then just cover them with these. I've got a base piece of tape on there, and then I'm going to use add circulars, take up the rest of the space, so I'm not wasting tape trying to cover everything with just tape, and do this all around whatever I don't want any paint to get on or any overspray to get on. After I've got everything taped off, I do remove the back and leave it off. That way I can use a two-wheeler to move the machine around easily enough. And this is going to show you what the trim pieces look like after I painted them. Then I also painted the handle part of the lint trap, and I'll give you a better shot of it here in a second to see the whole thing. But I tape it off too, of course, so I don't get any overspray on the lint trap. Other things that I tape off before I start painting: on the doors, there where the little screws are on the sides of the door, I tape those off with a little small piece of tape on the top. And then of course you saw the label, warning labels taped off, and I tape off the latch part on the corners where the top deck latches down at. I tape all these things off so that way I don't get overspray on them. And also on the inside of the door, on the front side of it or whatever, there's some more screw holes there. I tape them off. And of course I tape off the hinges so I don't get paint on them. The paint I use is that Krylon. They make an appliance epoxy, and this is the white, and that's what this machine needed. They make other colors as well. They make bisque and black and a couple of other colors. So it works real good if you spray it evenly and just take your time with it. Of course, after the painting is done and had plenty of time to dry, I'll remove the tape from everything, the underside, of course, put the screws back in place, and where I can put the machine back together. But this is how I do a refurb and repaint sometimes.